In a single moment, let me ask you just one question. It may seem simple on the surface, but it has the power to change everything. Who are you when no one is watching? Not who you are at work, not who you are with your family, not who you are when you smile for a photo, but who are you in that quiet moment when you sit alone, with no one in front of you to impress, no role left to perform? If that question takes you a long time to answer, then this video was made specifically for you. What you are about to hear is not a psychology lecture, nor is it a collection of quick self-improvement tips. It is a real journey inward, a journey explored by one of the greatest minds of the 20th century, Carl Jung. It began with one question and led to a remarkable discovery. The person you have been searching for all these years has been inside you all along. Something was simply keeping you from seeing them. Stay with us until the end, because what you discover may permanently change the way you see yourself and the life around you. And if these words touch something within you, share them with someone you love. Some words are not meant to be heard alone. The moment you realize that you have been living through other people's eyes, a quiet question begins to rise. It speaks softly, but it does not go away. Who, exactly, has been living in my place all these years? The answer is rarely what you expect. It is not simply other people controlling you. It is something far more intimate, something you built with your own hands without realizing it. Jung called it the persona, the social mask. The persona is not a flaw, and it is not an illness. It is a psychological structure you formed so gradually that you eventually forgot you had created it at all. It is the social mask you learned to wear from childhood. At first, it helped you adapt. It helped you be accepted. It protected you within groups and gave you a sense of safety. The problem begins when you forget that it is only a role and start believing that it is who you truly are. I know a man. Let us call him David. He is a senior financial executive with a high salary and a respected reputation. He always says the right thing. His social image appears flawless, professional, disciplined, successful. But in a private moment, he admitted something heavy. I no longer know what I genuinely enjoy, he said. Whenever he wants to do something different, something that might break the image he has built, his mind immediately floods with questions. Will they think it is strange? Will I disappoint them? Will they judge me? His social mask had become his prison, and that is the hidden cruelty of the persona. In the beginning, it protects you. It tells you, if you are accepted, you will be safe. But over time, something changes. The mask no longer protects you from the world. It begins protecting the world from your real self. The ancient philosopher Epictetus understood this well. Though he began life as a slave, he became one of the great philosophers of history. He taught that we live with two roles, the role given to us by society and the deeper nature that exists beneath it. The mistake is forgetting which one is the original and which one is the mask. When you become completely identified with your social mask, something subtle happens. You develop an addiction, not to drugs or food, but to recognition and approval. You need praise to feel okay. You need positive reactions to believe you are worthy. Not because you are shallow, but because you have placed your entire sense of value in the mask instead of within yourself. Here is another example. I once knew a woman named Ina. She was a content creator with thousands of followers. Her life looked perfect online. She always knew what to say, what to post, and which version of herself would make everyone feel comfortable. But one day, she told me something that broke my heart. I have lived inside the mask for so long that I no longer know what it feels like to live honestly. Her anxiety did not come from failure. It came from the fact that there was no longer any place where she could take the mask off. Even when she was alone, she was still performing. Jung warned clearly about this. He wrote that the persona is what a person is not in reality, but what they, and others, believe they are. When you live only through the social mask, you begin living for an image rather than an inner truth. And that is where the real erosion begins. But here is what most people fail to see. The social mask is not evil, and it is not a mistake. It was meant to be a useful tool, a garment that helps you move through the world. But Jung was clear about one thing. A tool was never meant to carry the full weight of meaning. A mask was never meant to carry your soul. So here is the real question worth asking yourself tonight. How much of your day truly represents you, and how much of it is performance? How many of your choices come from inner truth, and how many come from the fear of being seen differently? Most people have never asked themselves this, but the moment you do, everything begins to shift. Once you begin loosening the social mask, an old, automatic response awakens. You look around. You watch to see whether others are moving faster, achieving more, or living bigger lives. And before you know it, you fall into the trap of comparison. But Jung saw something in comparison that most people miss. Comparison is not merely simple envy, nor is it only insecurity. It is something much deeper, a rejection of your own individual path. It is like saying that your journey is invalid simply because it does not match someone else's. I know a young man named Murad. He is 22 years old. For years, he felt behind his friends. They had promotions, stable families, homes, and social status. Meanwhile, he kept changing direction, jobs, and goals. Every gathering with friends left him feeling like a failure. Until one day, he forced himself to stop and look honestly at his life. And he realized something profound. He had never been lost. He was simply walking a different path. Slower by social standards, perhaps, but deeper by inner standards. When you live through comparison, you are racing according to a timeline that was never yours. You spend all your energy trying to move faster, when what you truly need is direction. And speed and direction are not the same thing. So perhaps you have loosened the social mask. Perhaps you have stopped comparing yourself with others. Yet the fear of judgment remains. A look, an ambiguous comment, a moment of silence. And suddenly, you feel as though you are under a microscope. It may not seem logical, but Jung understood exactly what was happening. He called it the shadow. The shadow is not darkness, and it is not evil. It is simply the parts of yourself you denied, rejected, and pushed away. The aspects of yourself you could not accept, so you buried them deep within. When a feeling or belief is too painful to accept, the mind does not erase it. It projects it onto others. So you think they are judging you, when in reality, it is often your own inner voice. The part of you whispering, "You are not good enough." There was a woman named Priya who worked in corporate communications. She constantly worried that her colleagues did not respect her. Every question felt like a challenge. Every evaluation felt like criticism. But when she looked deeper, she found a belief she had never said out loud. I am not good enough. That belief had lived inside her since childhood. And because she could not accept it, she projected it onto others. She made them carry her self-doubt. But when she finally turned inward and said, "This is something I need to face," something strange happened. The outside world began to feel less judgmental. Not because other people had changed, but because the projection had been withdrawn. She had reclaimed her own power. The world you fear often reflects what you have not yet dared to face within yourself. At this point in the journey, something unexpected begins to happen. The noise in your mind starts to quiet down. The constant checking, the performing, the waiting for reactions. All of it begins to fade. And in that steady silence, you encounter something familiar. Something you may have been avoiding. Solitude. But solitude is not what most people think it is. It is not loneliness. It is not abandonment. It is not failure. Jung saw it differently. He saw it as sacred space. The place where the soul can finally speak without being drowned out. Most people fear silence not because being alone is painful, but because of what rises to the surface when there is no one left to distract them. The questions they have avoided, the grief they never named, the inner conflicts covered by constant social activity. All of it begins asking for attention. There was a woman named Jessica. She was always busy, always connected, always surrounded by noise. Then her job suddenly ended, and she had nowhere left to run. The first week alone was deeply painful. But by the third week, something had changed. In the quiet, she heard what she had been drowning out for years. She heard her own voice. She understood what she truly wanted and who she truly was. Silence did not create the truth. It simply allowed that truth to be heard. Jung believed this was essential. You cannot integrate what you deny, and you cannot hear yourself while you are still performing for others. Temporary withdrawal is not escape. It is a necessary condition for inner truth to emerge. When you can sit in silence without panic, and when you can be alone without feeling incomplete, that is when the self begins to take its place. It becomes your new compass. Now something even deeper begins to shift. You have faced the social mask. You have stepped back from comparison. You have begun integrating the shadow. You have tasted solitude. And on this foundation, you begin building something no one else can see. Inner discipline. Not the discipline of force. Not the discipline of proving yourself. But a discipline born from inner necessity. This is not about productivity hacks or self-help tools. It is about a daily commitment to what is true for you. even when no one is watching, no one is praising you, and no one fully understands you. Jung wrote, "The shoe that fits one person pinches another." There is no universal formula. There is only your own rhythm. Imagine a tree whose roots stretch deep beneath the earth. Those roots are unseen and unimpressive, yet they determine whether the tree will survive the storm. Most people only nourish the leaves. They shape the canopy so it looks beautiful. Then the first storm comes, and the tree collapses. I know a man named Jamal who worked in high-pressure finance. He was driven by recognition and approval. After experiencing burnout, he did not quit his job or launch some dramatic new plan. Instead, he began quietly and consistently. He woke early. He read in silence. He wrote a few lines of reflection. He focused deeply on one meaningful task each day. He told no one. There was no praise and no recognition. But something changed. He became calmer, clearer, and less easily swept away by external pressure. He did not become better than others. He became more aligned with himself. Modern neuroscience supports this as well. Internal motivation is far more sustainable than external reward. When your work is driven by personal meaning, the nervous system can sustain focus. But when it is driven only by approval and recognition, the mind becomes exhausted much more quickly. This kind of discipline is often lonely. It does not create an impressive story or earn instant applause. Real growth is almost always quiet. It is not a sudden breakthrough. It is a calm accumulation. Each day, each small choice, each promise you keep to yourself. But there is one final threshold. You have built inner discipline. You have strengthened your roots. Yet you may still feel that subtle pull, that desire to be recognized, to be seen, to receive confirmation that you are on the right path. And you may wonder, have I failed? But Jung understood that this is not failure. It is simply the next stage. When the ego matures, it no longer needs the world to tell it that it is okay. It stands on a different foundation, inner unity. Your worth no longer comes from praise, status, or comparison. It comes from a deep inner sense that what you live, what you think, and what you do are no longer in conflict. They are in harmony. This is what Jung meant by withdrawing energy from the world. It does not mean isolating yourself or becoming cold. It means no longer using other people as a mirror for your worth. Your psychological energy no longer flows outward, waiting to return in the form of praise. It turns inward, nourishing the roots. And paradoxically, the more deeply you focus on yourself, the more present and grounded you become in life. And so we arrive at the end, or perhaps at the beginning. Because what began as a crisis has become a return. A quiet return from living outside yourself to living within yourself. You no longer need the world to confirm who you are. You no longer need other people's eyes as proof of your worth. You begin standing on a different foundation, inner alignment. Alignment with what moves most deeply within you. Here lies the paradox Jung spent his life exploring. The moment you stop searching for your place in the world loses its power to shake you. Not because you have become cold or indifferent, but because you have finally returned home, to yourself. From that moment on, life does not necessarily become easier, but it becomes more honest. You no longer have to live quickly just to keep up with someone else. You no longer have to live in a way that pleases everyone. All you need is to live in harmony with what moves most deeply within you. And perhaps this is the greatest irony of all. The people who truly focus on themselves are often the ones most fully present for others. Not because they are performing a role, not because they are seeking acceptance, but because they have become present, grounded, rooted, and awake. So the real question is not whether you should focus on yourself. The real question is, how long will you wait before you begin? How many more days will you live through the eyes of others? How many more moments will you postpone your awakening? If something in this journey touched you, and if you recognize that familiar exhaustion of living for the world, the invitation here is not rebellion, and it is not isolation. It is simply to turn inward, to listen, to remember that the compass you have been searching for everywhere has been waiting inside you all along, right here, right now. And once you notice it, you will never be able to look away again. That is where true transformation begins. If these words added something to the way you see your life, or touched a deeper chord within you, share this video with someone you love. A sibling, a friend, or anyone you feel needs to hear it. And leave us a comment. Which sentence made you stop? Which word felt as though it had been written specifically for you?